guys, Keller11 back with another Feed the Beast tutorial. I know in the last tutorial I said I wanted to start my Let's Play. Life got a little bit hectic. I want to start my Let's Play series because I really like the Crash Landing mod pack. Specifically, I got really into watching videos and trying to come up with builds with Steve's Factory Manager. So, for this tutorial video, what we are going to do is automate a smelting system using the high ovens from Tinker's Steelworks and Steve's Factory Manager. Now, for this build, the first part at least that we're going to be needing, we're going to need our scorched ducts, some high oven controllers, scorched bricks, machine inventory manager, and inventory cables. The other stuff, you'll also need a chest. The other stuff will come later. Now, this is kind of more of a mid-game because high ovens, after you get to a certain point, are relatively easy to make, but at first it's kind of tedious to build them. Maybe I'll do a tutorial video on easy ways to automate your seared stone and scorched brick production and whatnot. But for now, we're going to go with this. Now, this is a basic idea of just to do the fuel, which we're going to have be charcoal. So, we'll build some ourselves later. I just wanted to show you guys how it looks out, and then I'll find an area and we'll build it. So, we have our charcoal trigger set to go once a tick. We have a condition that checks to see if we have a charcoal in a chest. Now, I have two high ovens set up, so what I do is I check for multiples. So I'm checking for 2 to make sure I have enough to go through each iteration of my for loop. Now, since I have 2 ovens, that'll come up with 2 items. So then you'll get a for each loop where your variable are fuel input ducts and elements. Now, if you don't know what these mean, if you come over here, you can check I have fuel input ducts that are my 2 scorched ducts that I'm going to be using for fuel input. I also have a random variable called element. We'll go into this in more detail once I'm ready to build it. I'm just kind of giving you guys a little bit of a flow. So then we have our input, which is taking 1 charcoal from the chest each time it goes through, and then we have our output, 1 charcoal. This should say 2 duct. Now, each time it runs through this iteration, it'll grab 1 charcoal from our main chest and put it into the corresponding duct. So let's get this all together. Oops, no, that doesn't go there. That goes to each of the for each. And let's go to our trigger. And you'll see that our charcoal is getting out in sets of 2. Now this is going to break the system, but you can come in here and see that charcoal is getting put in. This isn't being put into the right spot. I'll show you guys how to do it. Actually, charcoal will still be getting put in because I'm not using this as a check anymore. I was using this as a check in a previous idea. But that's good to know. So, right here, we have a system to automatically fill us up with charcoal. Now our next build that I'm going to cut to when I get an area laid out for it is going to be a much more automated system where I have the items kind of all laid out. The ducts will all be configured the right way, the inventory manager's variables will all be named the correct way, and we will be able to move on. So, basic idea on what it looks like if you want to stop the video now because you kind of already picked it up, or if you want to try building it yourself before watching the rest of the video, or if you try building it yourself and just can't build it in the rest of the video, come on back, watch the video. I'll be doing a quick cut right now, get a little area lined up, get my thoughts a little bit more together, and we will be right back. Alright, you guys, sorry if that cut out a little bit early and I started early. Welcome back, guys. What I am just doing is I've got my area set up and I am starting to set up my high ovens. Now for this example, we'll use 5 high ovens, even though I only have 4 right now. So I'm just doing 1 high ovens. Reason for that is that I don't really see a point to doing anything higher unless you have a ridiculously high output. Now the reasoning for that is the way the ducts work, and when we get into more of the examples, like when we actually start to see the system in action, you will understand why. Now This is very simple stuff that we're working on, at least right now, in terms of getting our high ovens set. The high ovens are a very simple multi-block to do. So you'll see here that I'm putting the ducts an extra distance away from each other. I don't have to do that. I like to do that for symmetry's sake, and I also like to do that because it makes it handy to be able to split your container variables and being able to just remember a little bit better, since for all its benefits, Steve's Factory Manager that I know of, you can't like label ducts or anything like that. It's just duct at this location unless you use variables, but variables are limited to 16. You can't do any more than 16 different variables in one set. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. So what we are then going to do, sorry about that weird inflection, we are going to set the bottom ones to the fire symbol. Now the reason why we want to use the fire symbol, this is also a little bit of a, if you don't really know Steelworks that well. Fire is where fuel goes in. So we are going to have fire for the rest of them. And then for the tops, how we want to have them configured is to ingots, because it'll be the same exact reason for the fuel. That's the corresponding symbol that you need to know. So let us come in here, and you'll see here ingot. These are for if you want to make like steel and other things like that. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on how to automate steel production too. That might be a little bit fun. So you might have saw the inventory cables connected to the controllers. I don't really know if I'm gonna do that. Just doesn't seem like a point. I've also made a little bit of a change after doing a little bit more testing over there. You will see what that is all about in a second. So let us set up, actually, there we go. This will be our little main station hub, and this is also going to be the system that when I do get around to doing my Let's Play, I'm going to automate a lot of things using Steve's Factory Manager. Don't want to go into too much detail, want to leave a little bit out there. I just thought this was an interesting tutorial because I hadn't actually seen anybody do it. So what you want to do is go through and make sure that everything that we need to access to is connected with your inventory cable. So all of our ducts are going to be connected, our chest is connected, so we are all good. Now you'll notice at the top at my eye level, this is eye level 66. That will be important to remember because that is our metal input or our dust input, not our fuel input. So what we want to do is come to Steve's Factory Manager. We want to create our container variable. You don't have to name them. I'm just doing them for the sake of this tutorial. Gotta get a quick drink, excuse me. Alright, this container variable, also known as a container, is are going to be, let's see, we'll call it fuel input. Cool. Now the variable is going to be, let's just set it to orange. Container type, we're going to do inventories. Containers, we are going to do ducts. And we are going to look for the ones that are on Y level 64, not Y level 66, because those are not the variables that we want. So let's see, 64, 64, 64, 64, and 64. Fantastic. Connections, that's all fine. What color? Orange. Orange for fuel. And then what we also want to do is create another container variable. This one we will name element, and I will link the videos that I used for my reference to learn how to do this in the description. Let's go ahead and just change this to be magenta. We will set it to be an inventory. Containers we want to leave blank, and declaration connection, that's fine. So we've got the basic done. What we first want to do is to create a trigger. Now you could split this up into groups, which I might end up doing, I might not, haven't decided. But groups would make it much easier to read and follow on the screen. For the sake of the tutorial though, we won't really need it because I'm not going that in depth with it. So we want just a regular, that's fine, and this will be the charcoal trigger. Fantastic. Alright, so we got the charcoal trigger done. Then what we want to do is to create a condition. Conditions. Do we need a condition? Yeah, we should have a condition just in case. What I'm going to check for is the chest. Yeah, we do need a condition. And I'm going to check to see if there is charcoal in the chest. Sweet. So we got our charcoal condition to tell if we have charcoal in this chest or not. Now, if you wanted to be really efficient about it, which I want to be, especially because in Crash Landing, fuel is kind of important, and resources, at least at the point where you build this for the first time, if you build this toward the middle of your map, once you get later in the map, resources don't tend to be that bad. Excuse me, weird burp going on. So, let us go back to this conditional. So, when that condition is true, i.e. when we have our 5 charcoal in the chest. So we'll check charcoal equal to high ovens. That'll be our conditional for there. When that is true, so as an example, if you have charcoal coming in from like a tree farm or anything like that, you don't want the condition to run all the time. You want it to run when it's got enough to fill, just to make sure everything goes nice and hunky-dory. So when that's true, we want to create our for each loop. Now the for each loop, this will be, we'll name it charcoal for each oven. Yay for overly stated names. Our variables will be fuel input and element. Container types, we will want to use inventory again. Loop order, we can just leave it the way it is, don't need to worry about it. Now, we've got that taken care of. I don't want to set that trigger to go right now. And then we have our for each. Now what we want to do for this is to create an input. Now our input is going to be one piece of charcoal at a time from the chest. So we take our chest, we target down, and we whitelist charcoal. And while doing that, we specify to only take one at a time. So we will take this and turn it into 1 charcoal. Save. Cool. We will take our output, we will rename it output to oven. Alright. And then we will take our inventories, which is going to be a variable, which is going to be element, because each time it iterates through our loop, it's going to select element. And now element is just, because it's doesn't have any assignment here, it will take one of the fuel input ducts, and that'll be that location is stored in element, and it'll go through and target that. We'll target down. We don't need to whitelist because we have it whitelisted with our input, so we can go through and connect everything together. And what we should see is where's my charcoal? Where is you? it over there. Let's get some more charcoal and run this again. So you see it just took 5, and now it's putting 1 at a time in each of the ovens, so you get a much more even distribution, which is good. Now, say for example you wanted to craft your charcoal into charcoal blocks. You can do that by doing a crafter. Maybe we'll get into that. And now you'll see here how we only have 4 charcoal left. It's not going forward because it can't evenly fill all of the high ovens, which is what we want. So that's step 1 for automating our high oven system. Step 2 is going to be programming in our dust inputs, so iron, copper, etc. Now I'm probably going to do most of that off camera. Let me figure out how I best want to do that, and I will be right back. Alright, I figured out how I wanted to handle it. So step 2, making sure our dusts go in the right spot. Now, the nice thing about Steve's Factory Manager is it tells you how many cables something are away. So it'll make it a little bit easier to figure out what we need to do. So what we need to be looking for is our ducts on Y level 66 and use the cables as such. So what we then want to do is should really be on an input, I think, or trigger. Let me figure out how I want to do that. Alright guys, figured out how I want to handle this. So what I'm first doing is I'm making this group, and I'm renaming this group Charcoal Refuel. Where did my mouse go? There we go. And what we want to do is hit Shift, grab this, and bring it into here. That didn't work. Still getting the hang of it. Oh, there we go. Oops. How do we want to do this? Shift, there we go. That was just me derping. So let's go right here, just to make it a little bit easier to read. So if we want to go back, close group. So charcoal refuel is all done. I'm going to put you right here. Then what we're going to do is create a command group. This is going to be called iron. Iron is going to be very straightforward and simple. What we're going to do is create a trigger that's set to go every pulse. Trigger is fine, we don't need anything more specific for it. We want to create an input, which if we have in our chest, make sure we target. Whitelist if we do iron or dust. Doesn't matter how many. Now the reason why we're going to do iron or dust is because when you break it down all the way, that's the way to be the most efficient. Obviously the ideas in this video can be expanded as your heart sees fit, but that'll be what we're using for now. So we're just using that inventory, and then we are going to create an output. Now our output is going to be the inventory. Let's see, we need the scorched duct at 66, which is going to be this first one right here. And then if you look here, our Y coordinate is, or sorry, X is going to be, there we go, gotcha. I'm still not used to that mini map. I'm used to playing with a different one, but it's all well and good. So we want our closest, the easiest way to look at it is we want the closest scorched duct at 66, and you'll see here that it goes by cable length. So 66, 51, 92, there we go. We're going to target that side. Item we don't need to do anything about because we already had an input. So we're going to take care of this. We're going to take care of this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look up some iron or dust. It would help if I can spell. Like I said, can't spell today. There we go. And you'll see there that that was moved into here, and we have it going into our correct inventory. Now, if we had more ducts on the back, it wouldn't make it evenly distribute to be more fuel efficient. All it would do would be it increase the speed with it this gets loaded up. That's if we did similar to how we have the duct set up for the each high oven. Each one has its own duct for fuel. If we had like say 6 more ducts on here, or 6 total more ducts, well 7 or 8, however many, it would just make it move into the top slot that much quicker. It wouldn't evenly divide between its other slots down here, which is why I'm okay using charcoal, especially earlier on until you get a good tree farm going and a good source of charcoal going. Just a little bit way to be, I don't know if it's more efficient. Maybe it's better to use charcoal and just wait till you get a large surplus to iron or dust, either or. Doesn't matter. Just as again, tutorial, let you guys know what to do, more so how to do it than anything else. So we're going to go into here. Now we could very easily have more, you know, we could have more in here. This is just something very, very basic. Maybe that's what I'll end up doing because I need to prepare for our next segment, which is our outputs from the high oven, our metals. So I will be right back when I get the rest of this programmed up. Just going to be doing the same exact thing, triggers every second. We'll just have 5 of them for the different ore dusts that we are processing. And you know what, let's do one more together, just to make sure everybody's got it. So, input for this one, save. This is going to be copper. Again, just very straightforward, just to make sure everybody's got it. And the nice thing about doing it this way and not specifying an amount is that as soon as one comes in, it will just come on in. And you want to make sure you use the X Nilo copper ore dust. Just little tip. And then what we want to do, get in there, create our output. And with our output, we want to go to the next scorch drain away, which is the next one that's on level 66. Target down. Items, don't need to worry about. Put that together, and then if we get some copper ore dust, that gets taken away and it starts to get put in here. Now we can set the smelteries to automatically go by putting a redstone signal to it. There's ways that we can automate this even more. This is going to be our like little introduction automation episode. Maybe I'll go through and not completely redo it, but maybe add a couple more bells and whistles, like automatically control to see, you know, make sure that you have the right amount of fuel in each one, make sure you're not wasting anything like that, just a bunch more conditionals. You know, we'll take care of it. So let me finish off with the rest of the ores. You know what? We don't need the rest of the ores. You guys got a pretty good idea. Again, tutorial, we're not needing to go overboard, just make sure everybody got it. So what we need next is going to be, let's see, we're going to need our scorch drain. We're going to need our crescent hammer. We are going to need our fluid duct, casting basins, that's all good. So what we want to do, let us first get this going, see about maybe trying to get a little bit melted quickly here. This might screw things up. Yeah, it looks like it reset it. Oh well. We can, through the magic of editing, just take care of it. So what you want to do then is put your servo in. If you put your servo in first and then hammer it, it will automatically get taken care of. Now, this is why I was thinking about doing a group for iron earlier. Let's get rid of you. Let's go back. We're going to rename you to, or input, save, put you right here, put you right here. I like to keep it a little bit separate, so you got your variables over here. I like to have the things on the screen. Wow, I was just gesturing with my hands. You guys can't see that. I like to have these kind of laid out in a more logical format. We'll get maybe reorganize it a little bit in a few minutes. But then what we want to do is create a new group. This is going to be called block output. Now, one thing to note while we're waiting for these to smelt, ideally these would all be running at the same time, which is what I meant by maybe we'll go to a more advanced tutorial to make sure we don't waste fuel and whatnot, because otherwise this is going to run out of fuel because it's being run, and these ones are going to stay the same because they're not being run. Get rid of it by putting the levers, turning them into the on position before you start your system, before you connect that trigger. But, you know, have everything all set to go maybe beforehand, just to make sure you don't waste anything. Just, you know, a little bit smart programming, or not programming. Essentially it is programming though. You know, this is a methodology that some programmers will use, like this kind of flow organization. So, block output, what we want to do is go to the content. We want to create our trigger. Regular interval is fine. This is going to create an input. Now what we want here is our casting basin that's only 15 blocks, or 11 blocks, 15 cables away. You'll see that if we do the same thing over here, if we've got the copper set up, we might as well show that it works. And we can get you started on going to. Let us just, for the sake of it, throw a few more stacks of charcoal into the system. Now this is kind of doing a automation for fuel. Some people want to more automate each individual smeltery. I might do that in a separate tutorial, but I think the stuff I've shown you guys today is pretty self-explanatory, or I explained it hopefully well enough. Which you could just create a group for your iron one. That way, you know what, that'll be a separate one because that's kind of different concepts, I've decided. But back to what we were saying before, inputs, inventories. You'll see now that we have our casting basin. Straightforward as can be. Just like we saw beforehand, it's taken care of. Our target, I think that'll work. I haven't actually tried this part yet, so we're in for an adventure. Block of iron. That's alright. So our block of iron is going to be our input, and we're going to create our output. Output is going to be our chest. Target down, activate, item, cool. So that's just something that, you know, pretty straightforward. Again, you would do it for everything else. So we can create our trigger that's automatically set to go once every second. We can create our input, which we will look at the casting basin that's a little bit farther away. I don't know if you need to, yeah, I would recommend it. I just get in the habit of whitelisting and blacklisting everything to make sure I've got everything taken care of. Let's see, of copper. Compressed iron, cobalt, copper. I guess this is our block of copper. Block of copper. So let's see. What I'm going to do, just so we can build up a little bit so we can see how it works for one. Actually for both. I'm going to get rid of these. Put the servos on them. And we are going to just wait for a bit for these to melt. So I will be back. I'm going to just let this thing run. I'm going to go make myself some dinner, so that way when I come back, hopefully we'll have enough melted so we can see how the rest of this will turn out. But that's really all there is to it. Let's see, we'll just finish off our output. Inventory chest, target down, don't need to worry about anything else. So that's all that'll do. We'll leave this block output. So charcoal, refuel goes by itself. Then we have our ore input and block output. And that's why I like these command groups, because you can have one Steve's factory manager and a boatload of other systems inside of it. That's the only downside of only having 16 variable colors for your container variables, is the fact that you're limited in that respect. So I need to play around with global and local variables more. Maybe we'll be able to figure something out. But, you know, we'll be back once my smelting gets us a little bit of stuff. So, be back in a bit. Alright guys, we are back, and you'll see here, the only thing I haven't figured out, or really cared to figure out, that's very easy to, is a way to pick up the slag from when it's done smelting. Because that'll occasionally pop out. So we have a lot of iron, and we have a lot of molten copper. Hey there, who are you? Fire creeper, interesting. So you'll see here in the block output, we still have all of our inputs and outputs, so that'll be good. So let's test to see if this works. These have the servos. If we go like that, and if we go like that, cast. This will pull the copper into the casting basins, and you'll see right there that we get it to be pulled out. So right there, we have a start to finish ore processing system. Now, if we wanted to, we could do a crafting system to turn these back into ingots, but that's not in this system. This system is how to automate charcoal to an equal amount of smelteries. Now, the I shouldn't say upgrade, but going one step further with this build is to do the full automation, to make sure that the charcoal gets evenly distributed, to make sure they're all turned on and running, and the charcoal burns at the same pace and whatnot. That's the next step. So, that's probably going to be a different tutorial. It's going to be not overly complicated, uses a lot of the concepts that, pretty much all the concepts we went over here, plus maybe one or two others. So, basically the thing is, once you start your smelteries running, you want to have them go with a continuous input of fuel. Again, why I chose charcoal instead of coal, or instead of a block of charcoal, is just because this is a little bit simpler. That being said, it is possible to automate this with blocks of charcoal when you only have an input of regular charcoal in here. But that'll be next time. So, hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and until next time, take it easy. Hey guys, so I got to thinking, it's not going to be that much harder to show you how to turn the ingots into, or the blocks into ingots. So, let us go to the block to ingot. So, trigger, 1 second's fine, input, you'll see here how I did the iron on the other side. We're going to do copper for this one, so we're going to select the chest, and we're going to select copper, block of copper. Cool, cool. Then we're going to get ourselves a crafter, bring the crafter down here. Crafter is going to craft the copper block into 9 copper ingots, and you'll see here that this is a regular little vanilla crafting recipe. What I mean by vanilla crafting recipe is just crafting table, call it a day. Excess inventories, what we want to put it in is we want to put a chest. Now we're not going to have any excess inventory, but you have to put it in there, and it's good practice too, just in case anything happens. You get used to programming one and whatnot. Program the right way the first time, and then you won't have to worry. Program your Steve's Factory Manager right the first way. The right way the first time, I should say. Wow, made no sense right there. And then for our output, we need to whitelist copper ingots. And it should be that one. So when we put the trigger back, go back to this page, you'll see here how we have now crafted our iron and copper into the corresponding ones. Now you'll notice here that we don't have, doing this method should have tripled our ores, which it did. You'll see here how we're missing 3. Now because 63 stacks would have been equally distributed here, we wouldn't have had any excess, I believe. I don't know, my math is doing terrible right now, but you can come back here and notice that we have 3 ingots worth of iron, 3 ingots worth of copper. Now this could be taken care of and switched by putting ingot cast and casting tables. However, those take longer to process and harden. So by doing it in the block form, sometimes you got this extra, but it's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about it. And this method of crafting it back into ingots is a lot quicker than casting the ingot cast. So, you'll see here I was going to start to do something else, but it comes to mind that this is actually pretty solid of a system. It's good setup. So this is the method that I will be using. You'll see over here though that I did start to recess it into the ground, because I plan on using the Steve's Factory, the inventory cable. I kind of like it. It's terrible. I like it as a building block, especially for floors. That way you can have your cables running and whatnot, and just it's all a good old fun time. So this is the real end of the episode / tutorial session. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for the jumpiness. I kind of was making changes here and there, but I hope you guys had a fun time. If you liked the build, thumbs up, leave a like for the video, let me know how you liked it. If you didn't like the video, let me know what you think I could have done better. Again, throwing it out there, I was all over the place this episode, but hope you guys still enjoyed. Hope that this helps some other people who aren't the most familiar with Steve's Factory Manager, because I'm just as guilty of it. I'm still learning how to use it, but it's a fun mod, and it's very powerful for its price. So yeah, hope you guys had a good one. Until next time, I will see you later.